It is Review of Raw. I am John Pollock along with Wei Chung. How are you?
Oh, very well. Call me by my full name.
Yeah, well,
Thanks, John.
That's what popular people do these days, I understand, when they see you.
Yes. A former classmate of ours, I recently saw for the first time in like 10 years at a Shoppers Drug Mart, and she greeted me by my full name. I don't even recall saying my full name to this person once. So, anyway.
How many people will refer to you that? Do your parents call you that?
No.
Or just Wei?
My parents don't call me
So no one calls you?
by the anglicized version of my Chinese name.
They gave it to you. I mean, there is a hyphen for a reason.
Who would say that? Maybe he who shall not be named.
You're right. He always did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even your impression of him will call me by
You're
that.
right. I knew there was someone.
Beyond, like, I mean, my group, I didn't go by Wei until, like, university. So I think anybody I knew before that age.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, what was your other name as well in high school?
It was Johnson.
Johnson, yes. Do people call you that?
No.
No.
I gave up that moniker. Thanks, John William.
Thank you. Are you ready to chat about Raw?
Yes.
Beautiful
I am.
Evansville, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
The home of Hook and Shoot. Jeff Osborne's promotion.
Also-
That's all I have to say about Evansville.
Also the home of one Vince Russo.
Evansville, Indiana?
That's what
Is that where he lives
It
now?
was brought to my attention many times on Twitter.
Oh, you're right. He did move from Colorado.
Mhm.
So, well, this was not a tribute to Vince Russo because I thought a lot of this made sense on this show. So,
Okay.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns came out to start the show and says some may like this, some may not. He cannot be beaten one-on-one and lists off Bray Wyatt, Finn Balor, and Seth Rollins as guys you can ask about that. And he put Braun Strowman out of commission, main evented my third WrestleMania in a row. And that's where he retired The Undertaker, which the audience was booing. And Reigns seemed to be just having a ton of fun here.
The whole promo seemed to be designed to elicit
Oh, yes.
boos. It's like he was teasing the audience about the things that his detractors completely hate about him. The fact that he's been put into WrestleMania main events 3 years in a row.
How do you not enjoy this guy? I mean, his promos, remember when it was just awful. And he feels so confident now.
Yeah, suffering succotash, yeah.
Yes.
Anyway. Yeah.
He got it bad.
He seemed to have found his thing, which is embracing the boos and, kind of but like it's the same thing as John Cena, embracing the boos while still maintaining who you are and your conviction. And that's, a guy who is incredibly confident and knows he's the man.
He's so much more smug, though, than John Cena, which makes it better. Like,
Yes.
John Cena, I think it just became insufferable for people of how forthcoming he wanted you to be with your hatred of him. And Reigns is like, fuck you.
Yep.
It's great.
Yep.
I think he's... I don't know. I just don't know how you can still be on this wagon that maybe you don't enjoy this guy in the position he's in.
Mm-hmm.
But my God, like, he has hot matches consistently.
The wagon is joined by people who would rather see more, people who they consider more talented in his position to be given his stature in the company.
It makes, though, for incredible heat for the matches. So
Oh,
I don't
no
want
doubt.
this to end either. I don't want people to be
don't.
necessarily one way or the other on him. I think it adds quite a lot.
And I think it benefits quite a number of people, as I think you could see from Joe versus Reigns tonight.
So they booed this when he mentioned The Undertaker, but says Taker respects him because he beat him. And he doesn't care who wins at Great Balls of Fire. He is the #1 contender for the title at SummerSlam, and mentioned Brock facing off against the guy they call Joe in a couple of weeks.
So this was promoted as Roman Reigns makes an announcement.
Yes.
Was that the announcement?
He's the #1 contender at SummerSlam.
So what makes him the #1 contender exactly?
He explained here, he's beaten all these guys. No one's beaten him one-on-one. He beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. There's no one else.
But
He believes in meritocracy.
What gives him the jurisdiction to announce that he's the #1 contender?
Dude, he's Damian Maya, the division.
A lot of people could have justification for being #1 contender. Okay, Finn Balor never had his title rematch.
But Reigns beat him.
So? Doesn't matter.
Why? He should
Reigns lost money in the or the 5-way.
The 5-way. Yeah, I guess so. Wasn't pinned, though.
So what?
Well, he announced it, and he wasn't.
Nobody stepped
Kurt
in.
seemed fine with it. He didn't contradict him.
You have to explain shit like that, Like, you have to explain why a guy can just come out here and name himself #1 contender. if it's in dispute, then tell us that it's in dispute.
In fairness, though, Joe won that Extreme Rules 5-way,
Yeah.
and he's getting his shot.
Okay.
Like if you are analyzing this as like rankings, like Reigns is totally justified in being the #1 contender for this winner.
Okay, what about Braun then?
Well, Braun's out as of this moment. Braun is out of the equation.
So you believe
you're right. Braun has a win over Roman, and that should be addressed, and that sets up their match.
Fine, and that's totally fine. But the fact that like Reigns came out here almost stating that it was a fact that, or it was official that he was a #1 contender, when I feel like the announcers or whoever, Kurt, should have come out and said, "We'll see about that."
Well, Wai, you also missed him state that you want to know why? Because this is my yard and I make the rules around here. So that answers your question.
I guess so.
Okay,
Yeah,
he's got some authority around here. The guy named Joe interrupted and states that Reigns has never beat him. So allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Samoa Joe, which was the B-side.
Samoa Hove.
Yeah. And he is the #1 contender and next champion. And Reigns says that you'll always be Joey Legend to him.
Just Joe.
Just Joe.
Yeah, I'm sure Joey Legend, I don't even know if he has Twitter or not, but I'm sure he got hit up.
Joey Legend was one of my first interviews ever.
Is that right?
Pre-law,
Wow.
actually. Yes.
For Jaws?
He was a Jaws guest.
He was a Jaws guest.
Yes.
Just Jaws.
At Cactus Pete's in Toronto.
Wow.
Yes.
Cool.
And he says that Reigns says he'll always be just Joe to him. And then Samoa Joe gave the safe version of the headbutt cutoff here.
Thank you.
To Roman Reigns.
Thank you.
And sent him to the floor.
Yeah.
This was not the graphic version, nor if anyone complains about that, your head is in the sand.
There should be a way to work headbutts that make them look just as dangerous as, a legit headbutt. I mean, Gallagher does them well. Joe did it well here. And then the reaction was no different, right?
You're right. Reigns ran into the barricade, and then Reigns blocked the coquina clutch, got up to hit the Superman punch, and hit it, and Joe rolled to the floor to end our opening segment.
I like this segment a lot. I'm liking everything with Samoa Joe these days. He has just a real air of realism about him. And I thought Reigns, I really enjoyed here too. I love seeing the reaction to him. I love the fact that he's playing to that reaction. Joe came out looking like a total babyface. Cut a promo kind of like a total babyface here. And the headbutt, so simple, so vicious, and so out of the ordinary. Like you can do the cliche, walking my way to the exit, and then the guy holds my hand, and then he punches me. I mean, headbutt, nice, simple, realistic.
They ran a SmackDown ad all around Daniel Bryan's return and addressing the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. And then they come back and announce Reigns and Joe for later tonight. Opening match was the Hardys against Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, with Sheamus and Cesaro watching backstage. And Booker says that the bar appears to be open because Cesaro is sipping on a drink, which Cole immediately says is Gatorade.
Okay.
That he put in a plastic cup, which I don't know how many people drink Gatorade out of.
Is there a rule that says you can't drink on air? I mean, Austin drink beers all the time.
Yeah, I mean, Austin would drink and drive.
You're right.
All the time.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
Jeff hit the poetry in motion to Gallows after the early advantage on Anderson. Jeff then gets knocked off the top turnbuckle, crashing down. They go through a break. Jeff hit an Insiguri. The crowd's rallying, but then Gallows comes in, nails Matt to prevent the tag. Jeff then goes to the top with Gallows and Anderson stationary, and Jeff goes for a whisper in the wind, and there were multiple things to take in here. The first was how Hardy came down and basically leg dropping poor Carl Anderson's neck. The other observation that Graves noted was that Jeff Hardy came within an inch of snapping his own neck on the top rope coming off for this whisper in the wind. So there was not a lot of room for error here. Matt eventually got tagged in. He hit a side effect. Gallows made the save. Gallows then hit Matt from the floor. Carl attacked him. They hit the boot of doom, and Matt kicked out of that. Jeff then hit Carl on the floor, tagged in as Matt hit a twist of fate, and Jeff hit the Swanton bomb to pin Gallows. The Hardys win.
I thought it was a really standard formulaic tag match that was like any other tag match you've seen in the WWE from the Hardys or either of the teams. Didn't seem to advance any storylines. Kind of skippable.
Then we had a Shattered Dreams video with Goldust, who quotes Sunset Boulevard from 1950 and describes Hollywood, where dreams come true with the biggest stars. But then there's the other side of Hollywood they don't want you to see, where dreams get shattered. And he's been there, but he's pieced himself back together, and now he'll be flying into the City of Angels on wings, and invites R-Truth to the debut of his new film next week in Los Angeles, The Shattered Truth.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was maybe my favorite one of the Goldust ones.
I feel like these, for me, have kind of visually run their course. I think they're still interesting, but I think visually they need to change it up. So I think it's the right time for Goldust to do something different.
What's this video going to be? Maybe they'll start it like in 2000 when K-Quick was this rising, upcoming star, and his career has just floundered over the years.
I'm not sure.
We'll have to find out. The Shattered Truth. It looks like probably Great Balls of Fire will be our culmination of this feud, which, let's be honest, they have gotten legs out of this feud, which I did not think they would.
I'm still a little surprised that they would give these two veterans in their upper 40s a chance like this on national TV. Obviously, both guys can be very talented. But it's just like, I mean, you see Mark Henry, you see Big Show, who are kind of people of similar tenure, and they're just written off. But these two seem to be able to work a program on their own, and I wonder who's going to come out of it continuing.
Should be Goldust.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too.
Elias Sampson was introduced. He's got a specialized font and key for his name. And he's introduced, and he says his name, gets booed for that. He says he got a guitar from his father at the age of 15 and was told that he could tell the stories of the world, as he insults Evansville and tells the audience to let the music cleanse their dirty souls, and says he needs to tune his guitar, which got heat. And then he was interrupted by Finn Balor, who stares down Sampson, and then Sampson just leaves. We come back from commercial, and now Balor's in the ring with Bo Dallas. I didn't know what was going on here. I thought maybe I missed something, but I didn't.
Yeah, I guess Finn Balor just happened to be coming out for his match with Bo Dallas and decided to interrupt Elias Sampson.
So Sampson's run time for his segment was what, 30 seconds? Can't do a whole song in that time.
Have you ever been to a concert where like they have to tune the guitars midway through? It's highly aggravating.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah. You have like a electric tuner for that.
So Finn Balor took on Bo Dallas, who has been largely just on Main Event for months.
Has he always had, like, how long has he had this new look? Because I thought it was Rhino that was in the ring. Like, I thought it was like a skinny Rhino.
I mean, well, it's a pretty fully formed beard. So a while.
Long hair now, and then like the straps.
Yeah, it's a different look. He also looks to have gotten a bit bigger as well.
Oh, has he?
Dallas was really aggressive here and got the advantage, sent Balor into the barricade, and then they showed this multiple times from a real close-up angle of him delivering this running knee against Balor's head to the barricade, which it was hard to see if he just did it really safely or really unsafely, but he seemed fine.
I'm sure it was fine.
And then Balor came back in the ring with these repeated stomps off the ropes, clotheslined Dallas to the floor. Balor then hit a running kick off the apron, ran Dallas into the barricade a number of times, sling blade, running drop kick, and the coup de grace for the win in 3:32. I thought this was a pretty intense 3.5-minute television match. I mean, for the time given, they maximized what they had here.
I thought so too. I had the same thought. I thought it was like a fun, aggressive brawl for free TV. No real repercussions, as or anything, but the aggression made it entertaining throughout.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was. I don't want to necessarily compare this to Nakamura the night before, but it was like the same thing where it was just a notable step above in just the basic aggression that the audience got into, and it was very noticeable. It wasn't just going like a 3-minute television match. Yeah. You could easily just have a throwaway match. Yeah. And it wouldn't have been like this.
I hate to rag on the guys, but like the tag match prior to this, I thought it was completely formulaic. Whatever, build up to the hot tag, and then boom, and then like this was them brawling on the floor. It was something different.
This had my attention for the entire match. This 3.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Corey Graves then gets word in his headset, and he has to leave to go to the back. And then Michael Cole plugs the WWE 2K18 game, and they throw to the trailer. And I wanted to get your thoughts on the trailer. I thought this thing. Well, what did you think?
I thought it was excellent.
Yeah.
So the question is, last year's trailer was fantastic as well. The downtown
Yes. Very good. This one, to me, way better of a story, though.
Yes, yes.
Like, they've built this whole thing around a guy breaking into the WWE archives and desecrating and destroying all these artifacts.
All these artifacts from, like, their history, like $1 Million Belt, Austin's ATV.
Who's beheaded at the end? Is it Bruno?
Andre.
Or it was Andre?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell which one it was.
I don't think Bruno is maybe as recognizable to, like, a mainstream audience. Like, I think the Andre statue you already recognize, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought this was great, and I urge everybody to check it out. They always do such a great job with these commercials, but I'd say in the past year or two, like, they've really stepped their game up, put a lot of money into these, and had some great ideas. I liked last one's. Last year's, I think, is more of a fun kind of vibe, you know, with the song. This one kind of plays a lot more seriously, and maybe even a lot more nostalgic. So I really like this one.
Is it kind of weird that Seth Rollins is the assailant?
Why? Well, the tagline is what? Be like.
Oh, we'll get that.
Be like no one. Thank you, Sam. Be like no one. So it's him destroying history so that he could be himself.
All right.
That kind of works.
It is vandalism. And a felony, probably, at the very least here, as he lights this place on fire, so you can add arson to the charges.
He's a badass, though.
Okay, well, that's what independence is for their audience, I guess, today. Destroy something. This was a fantastic trailer.
And it was clearly targeting longtime fans who would recognize all these props.
Yes. Yeah. So they come back after break, and this is when and they also plug Rollins is obviously on the cover of the video game, which they announced on ESPN Monday. And Booker shares his thoughts on the women's Money in the Bank match. It's been a slow progression. Booker T has become really entertaining. He was great on Sunday night during the kickoff show, on Talking Smack afterwards. And, like, I never want to see David Otunga back in that seat.
I'm with you. And
I think he's lost his spot.
I mean, sorry.
Dude, Booker is just...
Booker's very good. And, like, we just reviewed Money in the Bank 2011 on Review
when
Away.
He was not that great.
And I think I didn't even realize how much he had improved since then. Like, at that time, I thought he was just kind of saying a lot of cliches, playing announcer, overstepping on a lot of the other
There was
announcers.
A time he was actively bad, like really bad, not just blending in, bad.
Yeah, here I thought he was, as of now, I think he actually adds to the broadcast. I like him.
Yeah, I think, him and Corey are just great. They're the two best color guys the company has.
Sure.
I feel at the moment. You could put Nigel in there too.
Yes.
Certainly. But I think Booker, especially over these last two shows I've watched, he's been a standout. Kurt Angle's on the phone. These were his words. Crazy, crazy. It was really controversial. As Corey comes in and tells Kurt that he's aware and sorry that he didn't have a good Father's Day because he got the same text message. And that was our only reference to Kurt's ongoing personal problems.
I thought this would have tied into the Enzo and Cass storyline. And I almost think they all were trying to tease it with Graves' involvement. But
Corey Graves is the guy who's got the scoop now. He is the Just Joe character of 2000.
Oh, okay. I don't even remember what the Just Joe character did.
He would just hear rumors, and then he'd be the guy that would just pass along rumors to everybody.
I see.
It was very short-lived. So then Enzo and Cass walk in, and they bring up Enzo tweeting about Conor McGregor. And
he tweeted, like, Floyd's going to get you. If he doesn't, I will.
Yes.
Yeah.
A very threatening tweet.
The fact that they mentioned this multiple times, in fact, almost kind of using this as a big part of the reason why we got the end result of the show that we did.
Yeah.
What does that say to you, like, about their, like, did they just see this as a mainstream story that they want to comment on?
I think they were just trying to jump on to Conor McGregor in this massive fight in their own way. And Enzo and Cass, so anyway, Enzo says that he's stepped over bigger guys than Conor McGregor. And Cass says he's more concerned about the attacks on them over the last few weeks. Cass says that when he saw Enzo's chain laying there, he thought it could have been Enzo, but now he knows it's the Big Show. And Kurt just announces we will find out the assailant by the end of the night. Just like that. This guy should be a real detective if he can have that kind of telepathy to realize an assailant just on a whim.
Don't you? I'm assuming Corey informed him that he had a tape or something, right?
Well, Corey came in to address, I thought, something completely different.
He must have mentioned something. Maybe mentioned...
Because Kurt wasn't clued in the final segment as to who it was.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
So why was Kurt so confident?
I thought... Well, I think Kurt was just...
I think Kurt just said, we're going to get to... Like, he basically said, we're going to get to the bottom of this.
He's going to do some detective work tonight. Then Seth Rollins comes out, and he talks about being on the cover of the 2K18 video game and says that sports games were the jam when he was a kid.
He's the current 3-time up, down, Madden champion.
Well,
I don't know if you know.
He mentions other athletes that have graced the cover of video games. Legends like Michael Jordan, Peyton Manning, and Shawn Michaels. And says he is the cover athlete for 2K18. He continues to talk, and then the crowd starts chanting, "You deserve it."
You deserve it.
You deserve it.
What? You can't deserve
your image deserves to be color printed and inserted on the front of a box.
It's the "you deserve it" chants have gotten to a point where they're like, they're kind of like, they're so cliche and they're very like laughable in many cases. You can argue this is an actual achievement though. The fact that they see this guy as a big enough star to put him on this major product that they're putting a lot of money behind.
It is. He says that the fans gave him a second chance after his heel turn, and no materialistic possessions are worth that. He says, "This is not just my cover. This is our cover." And the tagline is, "Be like no one." And we have all made mistakes in our lives, but it doesn't define who we are today or in the future. We get to decide that.
What? What?
This is not just a video game. This is words to live by, Way. This is a creed amongst humanity, this video game. Holy.
Have you played Pokemon Go? It's like, it's a way of life, man.
Yeah, it's, for some people, it's been nearly the end of life.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some disasters with that game. So then the lights go out, and of course Bray Wyatt appears on the screen to take this to a new level. He refers to Seth as Mr. Architect, which I think is a way better nickname than the King Slayer. He tells Seth that he is shilling this corporate banner. I kind of enjoy Bray as the minimalist in this equation here against the video game whore for the company. And he says that Rollins then refers to himself as the man and says the truth about gods is they only exist in their minds. So we've got a guy here who clearly an atheist.
Yeah.
At the very least.
That's the new nickname.
Yeah, the atheist.
The
Seth
Architect,
Rollins.
Kingslayer, Atheist.
Yes. So he doesn't believe in Noah and his architecture. What? I was trying.
Oh.
He calls Bray a coward. Bray responds that anyone that takes his name in vain will be punished. He was warned, and now it's time to make a sacrifice, like Abraham and Isaac in the Old Testament. And he blows out the lantern to make his entrance. Because Bray apparently had more to say here. He had to come out to the ring, and then Rollins took him out with the high cross off the top and leaves him on the ground as Bray laughs.
I feel like Seth still comes across like a rather unlikable babyface promo, you know?
Even though he's sharing his cover with you?
Yeah, it's our cover. There's a difference between somebody like a Daniel Bryan saying those words and somebody like a Seth Rollins saying those words, and I'm not exactly sure why. But one comes across like he's completely genuine, and another comes across like he's acting and trying to sound like a tough guy, trying to sound like my friend. You know what I mean? You know, I don't exactly know how to pinpoint that, because I'll say even a guy like Punk, when he got that cover and did a similar speech to Seth Rollins, I thought Punk came across a lot more likable too. But there's just something unlikable about Seth.
Well, I just don't know how you expect to really rally an audience behind your video game cover. Like, I don't think the average fan cares.
Well, like I said, like when Punk did it, I thought that was a pretty big deal and a big babyface moment for him.
Well, I don't know. This just felt like so much of a
Ad,
a
commercial.
sponsored campaign
Yeah.
that this is our spokesman for our video game,
Yeah.
which is, they have to push it. They have to push it. It just felt very, this felt much more like Big Brother than it did Terrace House. That's how I would.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I suppose if Seth came out and said, like, was like honest about it and said, this is, I know this kind of seems like a commercial, but this means a lot to me. And, the reason why is because I blah, blah, blah. I didn't think I would, whatever, be success, yada,
This
yada,
guy
yada.
also just beheaded Andre the Giant.
Well.
In some countries, you would be locked away for beheading a statue. I mean, The Simpsons.
Yeah. All debatable. All
Okay.
debatable.
I mean,
yes.
he just committed some heinous acts here for your wrestling fans to watch. He burned Ric Flair's robe.
It's a good question, though, because,
These were villainous acts that were used in the
it's
great trailer.
It's a really interesting question, though, about how they got away with this commercial. Because I would assume that initially presenting the script to the WWE and to Vince McMahon, oh, you're going to behead Andre the Giant's head in this thing? No. Like, you would assume that they would have nixed it, or at least it took some convincing for them to go ahead with this ad, don't you think?
I would. I mean, granted, they are working on the movie and stuff with Andre.
It's not just the Andre thing, but like the smashing of like the titles, the burning of the titles, the burning of like all that other stuff.
There's all that, but I mean, do you feel that the phone call was even made of like, hey, your deceased father? Yeah, we're gonna behead this statue in a commercial. I don't think they would even think twice of that.
No.
That would probably be a visual that would probably be offsetting to a family member. As silly as a video game thing is.
Right. It's a statue, though. But, yeah, I kind of know what you mean. I think that's an argument for, like, I think that people would – I'm glad this commercial exists. I think it's a very artistic commercial, and I'm glad, like, whoever's vision was executed.
Then Charlie interviewed Finn Balor backstage, and he was asked, what's next? And he said, well, Extreme Rules didn't go right, and he's looking forward to going after the Universal title again. And then he's asked his prediction for Joe and Reigns. As he goes to break this down, Elias Sampson jumps him from behind and tells Balor never to upstage him again, as Devon, the producer, runs in and calls for help.
Oh, he was there?
That was Devon who came in.
I didn't notice.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Neat. So Sampson versus Balor. Who wins the feud?
Oh. I think Sampson could win. Depends what their plans are for
Some type of
Balor.
screwy finish, eh?
I mean, that should be, I don't know. Not
Sampson's first real feud.
Yeah. So we'll see how serious they are with his push. I mean, there doesn't seem to be much direction for Finn Balor at the moment, nor will there be. I mean, what heels are there for him?
Well,
Everyone's kind of tied up.
I thought they were going to do the Brave program, but I guess that's after Seth.
No. Then we had Akira Tozawa and the guy I want to see get the video game cover, TJP. I mean, it was built in this year, I thought.
I wonder if he's even in the game.
Oh, that would be awful if he's like a downloadable character in like the second patch or something. Titus comes out before the match begins and says this match needs proper hype, so he introduces both. TJP just had this awesome facial expression for his intro where it's like he's grinning, but like the side of his lip is going up. It's just the best. And then Titus introduces Tozawa as the next Cruiserweight champion and does his war cry. Match begins. TJP does this awesome head scissors spinning off his head. Tozawa landed a penalty kick, and then TJP blocked a senton. Neville comes out and joins the commentary, kind of, because when we come back, Neville is seated far apart from the announcers and not adding anything.
He just stole a chair.
Yeah, he just wanted a seat. Yeah. He didn't want to contribute anything. TJP got out of the way of a top rope senton, and then Tozawa hit him with a suicide dive as Graves warned everyone ahead of the senton not to be staring at your phones after that photo that got out. And then TJP draws him in, hits his double chicken wing gutbuster for a 2 count. Tozawa comes back with a Saito suplex and then hits the senton, winning the match.
That senton is such a cool looking move. can't feel that great.
I was going to say, this
though.
will not be a cool move for Akira Tozawa in 5 years.
Oh.
I thought Fandango has smartly moved away from that bloody top rope leg drop.
Right.
But this is...
You're going to jump several feet high in the air, and you're going to land straight on your back.
By the way, there was no Austin Aries at the house shows this past weekend.
Oh, okay.
So we'll find out if he's on TV this week. But it was Neville and Tozawa at the house shows over the weekend.
Interesting.
So he was probably doing this all weekend, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was a fine match, but it seemed to mainly just serve as a backdrop to the Titus O'Neil.
You're completely right that the purple needs to go.
Did I say that?
Well, I think
I'm not the only one.
Oh, I think everyone agrees. Like, that purple should go.
Do you think it would really change things that much?
I don't think it would have a gigantic difference, but I will tell you, I think there is definitely something to the audience believing this is your bathroom break.
Yeah, but I understand the idea of the purple to begin with was like, I think part of the reason why the CWC was so successful was because it had a different presentation from Raw. And I'm sure that was part of the thinking, too, when translating the Cruiserweights to Raw. Oh, we got to keep these guys different because
we want you all to wrestle like the other guys, but the ropes will be the differentiation. Why don't we do backwards and let's see how things go?
It can't hurt at this point.
Titus then announces Tozawa is the winner and that he and Cruz will be facing Cesaro and Sheamus later tonight. Stated that Tozawa is close to signing with them. Neville gets on the announcer's desk and calls Titus a peasant and needs to watch his tongue and tells Tozawa to tread carefully because he will be annihilated. And Titus calls Neville a scared boy and that the Neville level will be annihilated by the power of Tozawa.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of Titus?
I don't know what to make of Titus. I don't know.
I find him entertaining. Like,
he's fine
doing certain things. I think he's a decent comedy guy. You know what I mean? But like the tone of these Neville programs haven't necessarily been comedy. So I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out. Because like Neville is coming out playing Neville. He's this very serious heel. And Titus is coming out here doing all these like rhymes, the power of Tozawa. They're entertaining. They make me want to laugh. But we'll see. Maybe I'd like to see Neville try some comedy.
I honestly think your best idea is that you get a Apollo Tozawa connection out of this as a tag team.
I think that would be interesting as a tag team. Doesn't seem to be what they're working towards though. It's Cruz and Titus that are the tag team.
Which is weird to me.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that even Apollo and Titus or Cruz teaming together would be anything good. Right?
I don't really feel Apollo is all that much. I mean, he's got some TV time. I guess you can argue that.
He hasn't gotten
anything
out of this.
He's just there.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle was speaking with the Revival backstage, and then we got an R-Truth response. In the back of his vest read, "All eyes on me." And all ears are on this podcast because they're curious if Wai saw the Tupac film, which has gotten some criticism.
I have not seen it.
For its lack of authenticity.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
So it wasn't as good as Straight Outta Compton? I mean, not as entertaining.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But
I'll check it out.
Do you think you will see it?
Definitely.
And then he quoted Batman. "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." And he accepts Goldust's invitation. He's going to crash him back to Earth, and there will be no movie premiere. Just a hand of truth smacking him in the face. Mm-hmm. It's a big question if we will have this movie premiere next week. Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas were in the locker room. Axel was trying to lift up Bo Dallas's defeated spirits after this loss from earlier in the evening. The Miz walks in and says those two were action stars when they were on the set of the Marine 5, but they're just bit players here. Says that the Bo Dallas on the Marine 5 would smack this Bo in the face and states that Axel could hit him if he'd like. But after that, Miz would still be a star, and weeks from now, Axel would be getting ready for a match with catering and says they could come and become his entourage and they will become stars, and calls this the casting call of a lifetime and leaves Bo and Curtis to ponder their existence in this company.
Why wouldn't he get Goldust, the movie guy?
To be his entourage?
Yeah.
He wants some youth, perhaps.
Young guys. Okay.
Perhaps he heard that reaction Larry Hennig got last night and wants to get some of Curtis's. Maybe Curtis has some of that charisma. Charlie was with Samoa Joe, and they show Joe beating Roman Reigns from 4 months ago. Credit that they remembered this. And it was Joe's first Raw match, winning with the Uranagi. And Reigns has not learned from his past, Joe says. And he says when he locks on the coquina clutch on Brock Lesnar, he's not going to let go, just like he won't let go of the title. And Reigns better respect his name after tonight. Mm-hmm. No jokes, no sarcasm, none of that.
No. What do you think of Samoa Joe's hair?
His hair?
Yeah.
Is this a debate? Is there anti-Samoa Joe hair?
No, I'm curious because he started off with the shaved look. Now he's got like a bit more up top and the mutton chops.
I like the current look. I didn't always like the
bald
bald
look. I'm not a fan
look.
of the mutton chops. Not a fan of the mutton chops.
There was a time in TNA when he had kind of put on some weight and had the bald look, and it wasn't.
He's bigger now than he was in TNA.
He's definitely in better shape right now.
Oh, okay.
I meant like he was putting on like just weight.
Right.
In TNA.
Oh, he's in great in-ring shape. That's for sure.
They also put a tattoo on his face. Let's not forget that.
Yes.
When he was kidnapped by ninjas. Happy anniversary, by the way. It's TNA's anniversary. Actually, it's over now.
How many years?
It's 15.
Wow.
15
Happy
years.
Slammiversary.
Yeah. Go back and watch the ninja kidnapping. Woman Reigns against Samoa Joe. This was at the end of the second hour. Graves asked Booker how much a win over Roman Reigns would mean for Samoa Joe, and Booker T responded, momentum. Joe pie-faced him and tells him, learn my name, as Reigns struck back, crowds chanting back and forth. Joe missed with a senton in the ring, and then Reigns clotheslined him with a big boot, hit the drive-by, and then goes for the Superman punch, but gets stopped with a reverse atomic drop. Reigns then counters a Uranagi with like an arm drag, hits the Superman punch for a near fall. Then there's a spear, runs into a Joe kick, so it stops the spear. Joe hits the Uranagi, only gets a 2 count, which Booker pointed out was the move that Joe won with last time. Reigns then avoids the coquina clutch, shoves Joe into the ropes. He comes off, and this time Reigns spears him, and Joe gets the foot on the bottom rope to an awesome reaction. Mm-hmm. And Reigns is then setting up for the spear when an ambulance appears on the big screen, backing up into the arena. Reigns is distracted. The doors just burst open, and Braun Strowman roars coming out. Just roars. And this audience, gods might only exist in their head, but for this moment, it existed in an ambulance to this audience. They were so happy to see this monster of a man in his same environment in which he left. And Joe then applies the coquina clutch as Reigns struggles, and eventually Reigns goes out and Joe gets the win. A rare distraction victory that I had no issue with.
Yeah. I thought it was a great match. I think pumping up Joe to be on an equal level with Reigns in ring, and to he beat him by distraction, sure, but at the very least he was put up on a level with Reigns going 50-50. I think that does a lot to help him.
I would like to see over the next few weeks, like if Joe's in matches, I think he should be winning decisively going into Lesnar.
But not against Reigns.
I don't think they're going to do that against Reigns. But I think he does need to just go in really strong over the next few, because he had the distraction over Rollins, the distraction here, which is fine. You have your guys you don't want to beat clean. But I think that if you're putting him in matches the next 2 weeks, they should be strong wins to make that coquina clutch as over as it can be.
And they're really putting an effort into doing that, into making that move, that super move. You know, he seems to be moving away from the muscle buster, and maybe for good reason, especially with guys larger. I just think like I see a match like this, and Joe is he's such a fantastic all-around performer. I think he's great on the mic. His acting is good. His in-ring is good. His presence in the ring is good, and I would actually say he's better now than he was in NXT, which is unusual. So I see this and I feel like a guy this talented, there's no reason why they wouldn't put the belt on him at some point.
Reigns is down in the ring, still selling the effects of the coquina clutch, and Braun Strowman comes out and he announces he isn't finished with Roman Reigns. He lifts him up, does like a reverse choke slam, just dropping him on his chest, and then makes the challenge to Roman Reigns if he's man enough at Great Balls of Fire for an ambulance match.
Yeah, he said he called it. This is how like awkward this whole next several weeks is going to be in the build up to Great Balls of Fire. He said something to the effect of, "I'm going to see you at Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view." And no matter how great you do with the guy, like you give him this great grand entrance surprise from like the ambulance, it's hard to take him seriously when he has to say
Great Balls of Fire.
Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view.
Well, at least he wasn't one of the guys who had to sing the damn song on the commercial. Did you see the commercial?
I saw the commercial.
With all the guys singing?
Yeah. Anyway.
What do you think comes out of this match? What's your SummerSlam match?
Oh, sorry. I mean, I feel like the idea is still, for a long time, it was Strowman Brock, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For Great Balls of Fire originally, or for SummerSlam?
That was originally, I think going to be the Great Balls of Fire match, and then
Right.
Joe ended up being the backup. And now you will have Braun on this show.
You could do that at SummerSlam if he beats Roman, or if he can claim the number one contendership from Roman.
I have a hard time imagining they'll beat Reigns
Hey,
twice to Braun because he lost the last match.
Okay. They can get him to lose without having to pin him.
It's true. Then they recap The Miz and Maryse and having problems over the past 2 weeks. And we had a Miz TV segment with Miz in the ring with 2 bears dressed up, not real bears, and a large box. Maryse comes out, and Miz says he owes her an apology. He says he's gotten a Miz and Maryse bear, her favorite champagne. She's not happy, and then Miz asks her to open the box, and it's a grandfather clock that the Miz has fixed, and said on those nights when he had to sleep on the couch, he was in his garage watching YouTube videos on how to fix a clock, and says they are perfect, and Dean Ambrose is trying to ruin that, and they have what he wants, a perfect relationship and the Intercontinental title, and the title is their baby. Says that she is everything to him. He loves her so much and will never put her in harm's way again. And says he isn't timeless, they are. And then as Maryse goes to kiss him, out comes Dean Ambrose. And as Dean gets into the ring, not 5 minutes after the Miz's promise, he immediately uses Maryse as a shield in front of him and spills her champagne all over herself. And Miz apologizes again. Maryse leaves, is just furious. And Miz then runs at Ambrose, missing, and runs over the clock. Maryse is just pissed at all of this. Ambrose then clotheslines Miz to the floor, and Ambrose is left into the ring with the Bears when the Bears attack Dean Ambrose and reveal themselves to be Bo and Curtis.
Mm-hmm. I thought the segment was written well, and I think it maybe performed well. I had issues with the direction of it, though. Like, the cameras and, I mean, the director seemed to miss a lot of the integral portions of it. Like, the running into the clock, I thought was kind of mistimed. The bear attack was missed. Some of the smaller things here, I think if they had a second redo of this segment, it probably would have come across perfectly. But I thought it was written well.
Maybe Kevin Dunn just didn't have his bearings straight. So,
do you notice that Bo Dallas is doing the ahs?
No.
He's doing the Tozawa ahs, and I'm sure there's going to be a bit of conflict with that.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess some kind of match involving Miz and Ambrose.
Yeah.
Maybe it's got to be something involving bears. Maybe it'll be a bear lumberjack match.
Bear lumberjack match.
3 real bears.
Okay. They could do that. Anyway, what do you think of The Miz having a stable with the other two?
Well, I kind of thought that they were going to be doing this with Samson as his muscle,
right.
And instead he's got these two. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Gives them something to do.
Yeah. I mean, The Miz kind of works. Like, look how night and day it was when he got, like, Maryse. I mean, it added to him as well. We'll see if, like, a stable has that same effect with The Miz as this leader. It's all in how they're booked. If Bo and Curtis are just, the idiots to do the jobs, no.
Having the Singh brothers, I think, has made a huge difference for Jinder Mahal. If these two are being pegged to play a similar role,
right?
Maybe it could help The Miz.
We'll see. Then Kurt was showing talking to Big Show backstage. They plugged Brock Lesnar for L.A. next week on Raw. Sheamus and Cesaro against Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil, non-title. The Hardys were watching backstage. And so they constantly brought this up. By constantly, I mean they twice mentioned the fact that Titus had a meal with the Dalai Lama on the weekend, which was legit.
No, it was not.
It wasn't?
He did have a meal with somebody. He had a meal with a gentleman who I believe I did some research. His title is actually the Karmapa, which is a different title from the Dalai Lama.
Oh.
The Dalai Lama is a different person. So he did not have lunch.
They lied?
With the Dalai Lama. Like, Titus tagged him as the Dalai Lama. It was not the Dalai Lama.
Oh.
And here's, like, Cole and, like, the whole world thinking, oh, the man, this is a bald man in a Tibetan outfit.
So
Must
Titus
be the Dalai Lama.
incorrectly tagged.
He thought he had lunch with the Dalai Lama when he did not.
Oh, man. He's going to be really spoiled if he
Well,
listens
I
to this.
mean, the Karmapa, I think, is still a very big deal, but...
Not enough to tag him.
I don't know if he has a Twitter. The Dalai Lama does, though.
So that doesn't mean you just rename who you had lunch
he
with.
didn't have lunch with the Dalai Lama. So somebody messed up.
It's like,
He
oh,
messed up.
I met with the mayor of Toronto, but he doesn't have Twitter, so I kind of had a meal with the prime minister.
Yeah. It's like, who's the vice president?
He's a
right now?
liar.
It's like having lunch with the vice president and saying, I had lunch with the president.
Sure. Well, then that goes the whole point of this match to me, because I didn't follow really much of this. We had Crews hit a standing moonsault for a 2 count. Cesaro then hit an uppercut from the floor behind the referee's back. By the way, this was structured for Titus to get the big tag and do the comeback. Is that not backwards?
He's the focus here.
Titus is?
I mean, in the whole show.
I thought this whole thing was to get Apollo over. Am I wrong?
Evidently not. I've not heard one word from Apollo.
Well, anyway, they hit the assisted white noise and pinned Apollo Crews in 413 as Titus was dying on the floor. His arm was hurt.
Right.
He's probably seen double.
It was, the victim of a dead crowd this late into the show, I'll say.
Yeah. Then they aired this great video package for Lesnar and Joe, highlighting Joe in NXT, and then we had sit-down interviews with both Joe and Lesnar with Heyman. And Joe says he's slowly eroding Brock's confidence, and it started with the message he sent through the Paul Heyman attack. Lesnar laughs off the attack and calls Joe a punk-ass bitch. And he envisions Joe stepping into the ring and then realizing he's out of his league. Joe says this is everything that he ever wanted, facing Brock Lesnar. And Joe says they are both on a mission to destroy each other. And it ends with Brock stating, Samoa Joe, at Great Balls of Fire, welcome to Suplex City, bitch.
Yep.
We got Brock to say the name of the show.
I think everybody's going to say the name of the show. It's unavoidable now.
This was good.
It was okay.
It wasn't the best Brock package.
I feel like they've kind of the sit down interview. I know is like Brock's only way that he can speak comfortably, right? Maybe it's just that they've done so many of them now. They're kind of like wearing thin a little. It's just, to me, I see another one. It's like, oh, it's another UFC style Brock Lesnar thing. I've seen this before.
Then to follow that, we had Sasha Banks face Nia Jax. Alexa Bliss came out to join the commentary team, and the match began during the break. We came back. Jax is in control. Jax missed her in the corner, and Sasha hit the double knees off the top. Emma then came out to confront Alexa. She shoves Emma, and Alexa runs to the ring. Both come inside. Bliss hides behind Jax, but then Jax just hands over Bliss to Emma, who then misses Alexa and kicks Nia for the DQ in 1 minute and 11 seconds. Then Sasha jumps onto Nia, gets thrown off. Bliss and Emma start double-teaming Sasha when Dana Brooke and Mickie James run down to even it up. Booker says, talk about a fatal five-way, as there are 6 women fighting. Nia's then in control, and then a 7th woman runs down with Bayley and her new Batman-style shirt. Did you notice this?
Yeah, she was wearing a Batman shirt, yes.
But it said Bayley.
Oh, it did say Bayley.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And Bayley then fires up, even hit a Shining Wizard to Emma, and they knock Nia down, and it ends with the 4 baby faces standing tall. Not one reference to creepy Bayley from last week.
I'm guessing that was a one-off, and probably just maybe unintentional. You know, maybe it was just supposed to be a throwaway line from Graves that ended up being completely awkward and misread by the internet.
I can almost say that maybe if it was scripted like that, of just, can we just end with a hug? That maybe but that was a pre-tape. There's no way you can watch that and not realize this is all wrong.
Maybe to the producers, they thought there was nothing creepy about it.
I was happy there was no reference to it. I hope it's never referenced again.
Sure.
But we'll see. Everyone was talking about it.
Batman. Harley Quinn.
Oh,
Alexa.
wow. Amazing.
Maybe
Yeah.
Probably not that much to it. I thought this also suffered from third-hour fatigue. Crowd didn't
This
really
suffered from a minute and 11-second fatigue, of which half the match was during the break.
The match was inconsequential. Didn't feel important to me, you know? Bayley's return didn't seem to get a great reaction.
I almost feel like it's just going to be like some 8-woman tag at the pay-per-view. There's no challenger that feels ready for Alexa. They haven't built up any one person. So maybe that's where we're going. We had 7 people here, so you need a heel, I guess, to even things.
I feel like there's a bit of a problem. Like, I look at how the women on SmackDown are doing, and I feel like I can identify each one. I feel like I kind of know each one's personality. On Raw, you even have like superstars like Sasha Banks, who I can't really tell you too much about lately. You know what I mean? I really feel like they've been fumbling on the Raw side with the women.
Final segment featured Kurt Angle came out. You knew this was a big deal because there were no jeans. He was in his outfit that was designed for a big angle. He says he won't let Raw devolve and allow guys to be injured. The entertainers, he calls them, and then clarifies and calls them the wrestlers. Calls out Enzo and Cass. Enzo does his usual promo, which I guess was historic. And then Cass says that they're going to find the person who did this. Angle brings out the Revival and the Big Show as his suspects. The Big Show, after hearing him on Chris Jericho's show last week, it adds a whole new dimension now when you see this guy on Raw, because you know how much he hates being here for television. He stated on the show, he loves doing live events. Don't bring me to TV, where it's a waste of time. I sit around all day for these awful ideas. And this was his whole trip, was to come down and cut one promo here, which was more than most weeks. So Angle mentions that Cass stated it was a powerful punch to the back of the head, and he questions the Big Show, who is disgusted. He said he would never attack someone from behind, and he calls Cass a kid, asking if he wants some. Big Show tells Kurt, I've known you for how many years, and you're going to accuse me of turning on someone? How dare you, Kurt?
Had to be an inside joke.
How dare you think that I would do such a thing and turn my character?
That's really funny.
Oh, that was amazing that he did this with a straight face. And then he walked off stating maybe he doesn't want to be on this show any longer, which might have been legit. Cass says it must have been the Big Show. He had a big lump on the back of his head, and they don't need the Big Show on Raw. Scott Dawson says they're innocent, and Angle has done his due diligence. He spoke to some referees and producers, and Dawson and Wilder have solid alibis. And then Corey Graves stands up from the desk and says he could be of assistance. He states that Big Cass claimed he had a lump on the back of his head, which is not true, because he spoke to the medical team and no one tended to Big Cass. And Cass clarifies that it was another EMT team that checked on him. Then Graves says you competed without being medically cleared. And Graves says he knows what happened last week and has the security footage to prove it. And he shows Big Cass backstage last week, and he's surveying the area, and then Big Cass fakes his own attack. And the fans kind of booed this reveal. Not that they didn't like it, just that it was the sign of this breakup, I think. And Graves says Cass attacked Enzo. And Enzo looks at Cass and he says, there's got to be more to it than what I'm seeing here. And then Cass admits to it. Now, before we get into Cass's part here, I couldn't help but watch this segment and, like, man, if Corey Graves' career did not end the way it did, like, this guy was fantastic here. He was awesome. I thought he was the better promo than Cass here. Clearly. Like, this guy was like a main event level speaker here.
He
carried the segment.
Okay.
Like,
I thought Cass did really well too. But,
he was fine. But to me,
yep.
Graves blows away Kurt Angle as an authority figure.
I agree
Like,
with that.
Graves was excellent.
Yes.
Excellent here, I thought.
Yeah, I agree.
So then Cass says that Enzo constantly runs his mouth. You even ran your mouth to Conor McGregor. And everyone backstage doesn't like you. I've put up with your crap, and I finally snapped. And then you see tears forming, and then one solitary tear rolls down the cheek of Enzo.
That is impressive.
There are people who think that the crying Jordan meme will be replaced by this way.
Wow. One can only hope.
He's sick of his crap ever since NXT and wanted to watch him suffer. He wanted to see if Enzo was smart enough to figure out what was happening around him or if he was as dumb as he looks. And he realized Enzo's even dumber. He's dead weight, and he's the reason he's never become a champion. He's the star, he's the future, and he's where the money is. And Enzo's mouth writes checks his ass can't cash. They're through! And he drops Enzo with a boot.
Mm-hmm.
And Wai, the final piece of this beautiful poetry that was written.
Mm-hmm.
They showed the security footage of June 12th, last Monday.
Okay.
The first date that these two teamed together, June 12th, 2014, at the NXT tapings.
You're kidding.
It's the first time I could find them listed together, the first time they were paired together.
Wow. Should have done the breakup then, actually.
Amazing. What a 3-year run this was.
Uh-huh.
This was the breakup. I don't know what... If there's one thing here, I thought it was a good breakup, but I feel like there's a very little to a feud here. Like, Cass is going to be off quickly. And I don't know where Enzo goes after this. Maybe he's paired with Big Show.
They could do a match.
It will be a match. Like,
yeah.
I don't feel they will allow Enzo to be competitive with this guy.
No, they won't. But that doesn't mean Enzo couldn't pair up with somebody else, you know. Because I think there's a lot of money to be made, or at least a lot of subscriptions to be sold, partial subscriptions to be sold in the feud. They teamed this long, you can't not do a breakup. But I guess they need another main eventer, and Cass is kind of pegged for that role. It's interesting that they decided to make him as the heel here rather than as the babyface in the feud, and I think it's definitely the better choice. I think Enzo is certainly more sympathetic, being the smaller man and also being so fan-friendly. I thought Cass sounded good, you know, for all the concerns that I think there initially were about him not being able to speak compared amongst the two. I think he's certainly proved everybody wrong. I thought he sounded very confident here. The reveal could have been, if it was for, like, you know, just somebody new to the roster, okay, whatever. It had to be something big and lasting, and I thought the reveal of leading to their breakup is a big deal and leaves me satisfied at the end of the 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there really was. I guess the justification was there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was plausible enough to buy this. And, yeah, it's like the team had kind of run its course.
Yes.
Like when you had the Hardys inserted as the top babyface tag team, these guys were kind of left to be.
Do you feel like they should have had a title run?
No, I think that actually kind of added to this. The fact they've never won titles together. And Cass, that was his breaking point.
What I mean is, do you think they maximized their potential as a tag team? Do you think the company maximized their potential as a tag team?
Like, I never thought these guys needed the titles. I never thought that was super important for them in NXT or on the main roster. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm curious what happens with Enzo, because he's very valuable, but in a role that the WWE really doesn't put a lot of stock into, that being a great, undersized babyface talker.
What do you do with him? I mean, 205 Live could certainly use a personality like his, but in ring, can he hang with those people? He's a different type of performer than what's required for that show. But maybe it's exactly what that show needs. But it's also such a waste of Enzo.
Maybe he'll get a love interest.
Yeah. I don't think he'll go on 205 Live. I think he's too valuable.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I think this is probably a one pay-per-view, though, match, though, for Cass. And then we'll see where he goes from there. That was Raw. I thought this was overall a pretty good show. A lot of storyline progression. I like the fact that you had that tease throughout the show that you were going to get a payoff at the end. They delivered on that. The Joe Lesnar stuff was very good. Then we had
Joe versus Reigns.
Joe versus Reigns was really strong in the middle there.
Yep.
So, yeah, there was a lot to like on this episode of Raw. And setting some stuff up for next week's show as well.
Braun's return.
Braun's return. Like, you got a lot out of this show, which was kind of this in-between show, in-between Brock appearances, and it turned out to be a pretty newsworthy show for storyline development. So I enjoyed Raw tonight. June 12th, 2014 to June 12th, 2017.
June 19th
well,
now.
I guess that was when it was Enzo's fate was sealed. Though we had no reference to the secondary attack. Cass was attacked twice, remember?
Yeah, he probably did it to himself 2 times.
So what, after the first one, it wasn't enough? He had to further make this statement?
Yeah.
Oh, he's like, Enzo
idea.
didn't figure this out.
But I loved how, okay, here's something that maybe I can criticize about this is the fact that he was, in the security footage, perfectly centered in frame, perfectly lit in the camera.
They should have explained that they were filming the next season of Swerved.
I think that's
and they had cameras everywhere.
Great idea. Great idea. Swerved cameras happen to catch this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That was Raw. So that is going to bring to an end our show. But me and Wai are not breaking up. We are, in fact, going to be returning on Wednesday with Review of SmackDown, which I think will be a very interesting show coming out of Tuesday. They have set up quite a lot for Tuesday's show, how they will deal with the ladder match. Will we be getting a rematch? Where are they going in all the major programs? We will chat about that and 205 Live.
Yeah, and if you want to hear feedback from our message board audience to this edition of Raw, as well as some extra conversation that you may or may not have heard on the YouTube version, do download the rest of the show at liveaudiowrestling.com. Too many things. We got too much. So
there you go. Liveaudiowrestling.com. That is where you have to go, and we'll chat with you on Wednesday.